Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, what you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So now we're officially a day away from the NBA Finals return to Indianapolis after 25 years. I cannot wait. We go back-to-back Wednesday and Friday, and believe me, as we normally would, we have plenty in line for you on both days. The pub tomorrow, and then pivot inside the Hyatt House. That is coming up on Friday. So we are going to make sure that you guys have a spot to go and join us and pre-party, because that's how you have to take it. It's been 25 years in the making. Tyrese Halliburton with what they like to reference as KT tape. A little bit of that on the back of the ankle right there. Or as he described it earlier today, the lower leg. But he looks just fine in practice earlier today. So we shall go over that and more. PJ Carlissimo, who's a part of the NBA ESPN Finals broadcast on ESPN Radio, joins us, the former coach, a little bit later on, about the first two games, which honestly are very different, but certainly the same. And what I mean by that is both teams, I thought, played roles in which we have seen. For one team, the Pacers, for the most part during the postseason so far. For the other team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they played game two as they have thrived to the level at which they have played basically throughout the season. So, yeah, different but the same is how I'd put it. The Pacers went in dramatic fashion in game number one. We're used to that in the postseason, and the Thunder kind of run away and never really get threatened in the second half against the Pacers in game number two. And we shall see what gives. I will say this, and just because you pull up with home court doesn't mean a damn thing. And it sure as hell doesn't mean a damn thing with Oklahoma City. But it is going to, with this crowd, the expectation is tomorrow and on Friday, it is going to put, and it just naturally does, it will put a little bit more juice into this blue and gold squad. And I cannot tell you how important, listen, it's not an original thought, how important both of these games are going to be. In the grand scheme of things, first of all, you want to hold at home and serve and make sure that you maintain home court advantage. So you start right there. You got the work done in game number one, and you wrestled away home court advantage from OKC. You just don't want to give that back. So we'll start right there. We'll also start with a much more aggressive offensive approach, which really is what they're supposed to do each and every game. And granted, I am not at all short-selling exactly how good the Thunder are at bringing you out of that, getting you out of that, because there can be a relative comfort zone that you find. And clearly in game number two, the Pacers, especially within any sort of striking distance, rarely got into that comfort zone. Like, they scored and looked better offensively in the second half. However, yeah, the game wasn't in doubt after that 35-9 run to bridge the gap between quarters number one and quarters number two. It was all pretty much over. So out of the gate, here's the other thing too, because we saw this in game number one, and you saw this down the stretch. They put pressure on the Thunder. And we have overanalyzed the hell out of this. They put pressure on the Thunder to perform late in clutch situations. This Thunder team hasn't had a lot of pressure placed on this, I should say, throughout the course of the season, with their pace of play being mostly dominant and probably not even secondarily their defense being so high quality, high caliber. They rarely, if ever, have been placed into one of these situations. I think it is so important for the Pacers to put them in a window of uncomfortableness, if that makes sense to you. And even if it is for a short period of time, wherever you can gain any sort of advantage, that's where you start, is with that. Because you have the history in game number one at the end shows you that if it's something that was a little bit new to them, which that in-game situation and having to perform, in a clutch moment, in a crunch moment like that, as good as they were the entirety of the game, for the most part, we saw it. I mean, defensively, you turn over the Pacers 24 times. As good as they were most of that game, in closing it, that is not what you would expect from the best team in the NBA. So I don't know if anybody would suggest they succumb to the pressure, but the Pacers need to put them in as much as they can, get them in to a pressure situation. No matter what we're talking about, no matter what period of time. Because this is a team that really thrives when it swarms. And its most comfortable situation is when on either end it swarms on its opponent. Pacers cannot have that. So you can look at the dynamic of game threes haven't been kind to the Pacers. You can look at the dynamic that, after a double-digit loss, there's always a bounce back. You can look at the relative resilience in general with this Pacer team. But being able to play their game, not being taken out of it, and we say this all the time, playing your game essentially comes down to also making your shots. There'll be some games where you're not even playing your game, but if you're making shots, people think you are. But that's how important I believe this home court needs to be. Coming up tomorrow night, and then coming up again on Friday. So a full-scale discussion on that, and Tyrese Halliburton indeed was back at practice earlier today. We shall bring that up. Individually speaking, there is zero doubt. You want him to be able to do what he normally does while also getting things focused in on getting his own. Now, again, easier said than done because OKC wants to take that away. OKC is really good, especially defensively. This is not something where, the Pacers just aren't doing it, so it's their fault. And while maybe they're not executing to the level in which you would like to see that, Oklahoma City has a great deal to do. Their resistance and their takeaway feature of the basketball is really historic. Think about this stat for a moment. So 24 turnovers in game number one. And I thought this was amazing because you go 19 in the first half and you only turn it over 5 times in the second. And I gave the Pacers a lot of credit. I think it was Scott Van Pelt that mentioned this after game number one on the ESPN Sports Center broadcast, that he was talking to somebody on the Pacers bench, and that person told him that this is an elite-level problem-solving team. And it made a lot of sense to me, considering you go from 19 first-half turnovers, which is ridiculous, especially for this Pacer team that's not known for giving it up. But you go from 19 first-half turnovers to 5. That speaks to exactly that coach's, one of the staff members' descriptions, because you're able to do it on the fly. You don't have to wait until, the off day, the practice day between game 1 and 2 to explain it on tape or on film, and this is how it goes. What you did is you got that done in the locker room. It's also amazing to me that you go from 24 turnovers, and then you look at it only being given up 15 times in game number 2, and people look at that as an improvement, which by the numbers, that's an improvement, but you don't want 15 either, do you? You'd take 15 over 24, but you catch my drift. It's also worth noting that the best quarter that we have seen offensively from this Pacer team, they ended up in the plus-minus category, -1. The best offensive quarter. So a lot of these numbers that we know certainly are going to equate from what we've witnessed over the course of the regular season and then again in the postseason. But there are some just kind of wild-ass numbers out there that just simply put will not make any sense, and that's what you get used to when you have two high-caliber, high-quality teams that battle in the NBA Finals. Because you simply put, you don't have a lot of time to get down to business and get used to it. You got to do. And especially coming off that game, too, that the Pacers had. You got to do. You got to do game 3. You got to do game 4. And when I talk about as well applying pressure to OKC, if you're able to hold serve, you place them on the brink going back to Oklahoma. I mean, you give yourself the absolute best opportunity. And it's right there in front of you with home. Like, it's funny, somebody brought up to me yesterday, hey, they're 1-1, but it feels a lot worse than being 1-1. I get what you're saying about it, but you're still 1-1 in the best of 7. And you essentially did, even playing, and I think we'd all agree with this, not at all nearly your best basketball in those first 2 games. You were able to do something that has been very customary for this team in the postseason, and that is get over late. Just kind of hang around. Put yourself in position. So this is how you take advantage of being 1-1 in a best of 7 with a team that is the huge favorite against you. In OKC, I talked to some people that apparently were staked out in front of the Conrad, and OKC rolling in a little bit earlier today. People out there with shoes and ball. I will say this. Some people were booing. I think some people thought maybe it was the Pacers. But some people were booing a little bit. So Pacers worked out a little bit earlier today. Game number 3 is coming up tomorrow night down at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I mentioned we're going to be across the street at the pub. We start that coming up at 3 tomorrow. In fact, I will go until, 8 o'clock tomorrow night, I believe? Yeah, so I got to go 5 hours. So y'all better stop by. You guys may have to do like an hour's worth of show if my voice doesn't hang out. You believe that? 25 years. 25 stinking years. I'll wait for this. And I've been doing radio for the most part the entirety of the time. Very early stages, producing for Bragg and Benner, and then Mark Patrick over at WNDE, but very early stages. So I've been waiting for 25 years for this. And then lo and behold, here comes whatever bull crap. I also blame this on the weather, because we've had, not today, and not yesterday, some of the crappiest weather we have seen for the middle to the end of May to the start of June in seemingly years. Complete crap. Like you waltz outside for the 500, if you remember. It was like a March day. So 25 years, and then I get stuck with this. But I am battling. I will say that. I am battling. We'll be with you tomorrow. I'll be with you coming up on Friday at the Hyatt House downtown. That's in Pivot on the 2nd floor of the Hyatt House downtown. So we're thinking at the bottom of the hour, if there is a stream, we're going to take the Ursay daughters, the new transition, the reorganization, if you will, in ownership. And we'll do that. Hopefully coming up at the bottom of the hour, if that works out, if it is streaming. If it isn't, we'll go a different direction. It's funny, right? So I mentioned PJ Carlesimo is going to come on the show, and we're going to talk about the NBA Finals a little bit later on. But I reached out to the Colts today, and I had mentioned I wanted to get Mo Alie-Cox because of his background in playing basketball. So Matt Conti set me up with Mo Alie-Cox. Mo's going to join us a little bit later on in the show. One of the reasons why I wanted to get Mo was because I had noticed and seen him at a number of the Pacer postseason games. He was, if memory serves, a defensive specialist while at VCU back in the day. Because you remember, right? I mean, his first sport of note certainly was basketball. But Mo Alie-Cox, who's also participating in mandatory mini camp over on West 56th Street, and Mo is going to join us a little bit later on in the show. Greg Rakestraw joins us coming up as well. A lot with Greg we shall get to again over the course of the afternoon. This is not like a 4-carton-a-day smoker right here. This is just what we're dealing with, trying to get on the other side of whatever evil sickness. Kind of interesting, right? Because you got Days of the Dead this weekend. And I think the biggest star on the list, that's over at the East Side Marriott, right off of I-70. You guys know what Days of the Dead is? James, you know what Days of the Dead is? Not the film. So it's where a bunch of, like, horror movie stars get together. It's like a convention, a horror movie convention. It should be up your alley. It's a horror movie convention.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Blair is the star. And I was thinking about Linda Blair. I should go over there and see if maybe I can get whatever is taking hold of me, maybe I need an exorcism. Maybe. And we've had Linda Blair on the show before. Linda Blair was awesome when she was on the show. This goes back a number of years. She was, I think, over the course of a week at a haunted house locally going back 10-plus years, and she was awesome in studio. But, yeah, I think Linda Blair, I was trying to think of the others that are out there as well. Linda Blair is one of the headliners. It is called Days of the Dead.
Looks like they have Bam Margera is going to be out there.
Is he from Jackass?
He's from Jackass, yeah. And then a bunch of people from Friday the 13th.
All right, then. Keep going. I'm looking over there, too. I'm looking over your shoulder
Kane
right
Hodder
there.
from Friday the 13th. Got people from the Terrifier series, if you've ever heard of those.
No idea what that is.
New popular horror movie, apparently very scary.
Okay.
Some Doug Bradley from Hellraiser.
Hellraiser,
There you go.
Pinheads
Yeah,
right there.
absolutely.
Oh, there's Felicia Rose from Sleepaway Camp.
They got a lot going on
That was
here.
known as a slasher. That was an interesting ending, if you guys remember Sleepaway Camp in the 1980s. Oh, look,
Michael
Biehn.
That's good.
Johnny Ringo is in town, huh? I'd check out Johnny Ringo.
Edward Furlong from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's a good one.
Furlong's here from America. Oh,
Bill Duke.
Bill Duke from Predator.
Oh, yeah. They got a whole good list.
Yeah, man.
She was Janet Goldstein. She was in Aliens. I think she was in Titanic, too.
I believe that Bill Duke. Was Bill Duke also in American Gigolo?
I wouldn't know. I've never seen that.
James says, I would never know. There's a good reason why you would never know.
David Naughton, American Werewolf in London.
Gotcha right there.
This is a big list.
Not a bad list at all, is it, when you get
Good
right down
turnout.
to it? Yeah. Yeah, Linda Blair. So, yeah, I was thinking about yesterday when I saw that list. I go, man, I needed an exorcism or something here. Like, this is the most important week we've had forever. And, I'm not going to be on the sideline for anything, but it is me and the shredder right now, for real. But I promise you this. This always happens with me. I will rally. We are going to rally. I've got hoop later on tonight, so I can sweat. I firmly believe in hoop through sweat. Sweating, I may end up making everybody else at hoop tonight sick, but that's just the price that you pay for having my ass there. Sweating out the bad stuff. Soaking up the good. Having this pure jumper. Sweating out the bad stuff. And again, if I end up infecting a couple of people trying to check me, then that's just the price that you pay. All right, Greg Rakestraw maybe at the bottom. If we don't have the presser, we don't know just yet. Is it still kind of up in the air whether or not we're going to have it?
I have not seen a posting about it yet, so it may not be getting live streamed. I'm not sure yet.
We shall see. Carly Ursay Gordon is going to be the overseer, but the three daughters are certainly in the reorganization of roles here. Going to be the ownership, and it is going to be pretty significant considering this is the first time we've heard from any of them. That's coming up at 3:30. We felt compelled to hopefully we have that for you, and we're able to play it for you coming up as well. I mentioned Mo Alie-Cox from Colts mandatory mini camp. Daniel Jones, a couple of touchdown passes today. Anthony Richardson trying to find out exactly from his surgeon in L.A. what the hell is going on with the shoulder and why there's a little bit of an aggravation going on there in the AC joint. Shane Steichen. Actually, I want to give credit where credit is due. I think it was Albert Breer who had that news yesterday on Rich Eisen's show. And I don't know where you get it. I don't know if that's on a podcast or, somewhere on YouTube TV or whatever. But it was Albert Breer who originally had that story. And then Shane Steichen informed everybody officially of that a little bit earlier today. So Anthony Richardson out to L.A. to find out exactly what is going on. And I don't know how much you want to get the play-by-play of what happens in 7-on-7. And by the way, too, you guys are thinking about free agent quarterbacks the Colts have brought in. You guys remember the name Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder, the quarterback, is at Colts minicamp. As Anthony Richardson just kind of hangs around and watches right now. I think James on the social media platform X described it as mental reps for Richardson. But again, he did go to L.A. to visit the surgeon who performed the AC joint surgery and wanted to get the thing rechecked. And they still target his return in their hopes for training camp. We shall see. But a lot of Daniel Jones, Tyrese Halliburton participating in practice today. That was a good thing. All right, a lot more for you coming up in the show. PJ Carlissimo of ESPN Radio and the NBA Finals will join us coming up a little bit later on. Greg Rakestraw is going to join us a little bit later on. Mo Alie-Cox, Colts tight end, with a break of Colts mandatory minicamp and a little Pacer Hoops description, too, from a guy that's gone to a lot of these games. Mo is going to join us a little bit later on in the show, and hopefully we have it from the Ursay daughters, the new transition in ownership with the Colts. With a press conference, their first coming up at the bottom of the hour. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live. Sign up for that IndyCar 2-seater ride today by becoming a AAA member. That's AAA.com to become a member today. The stream, the app, HD Radio, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rugs.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We'll see about the press conference. James, you can let me know if something happens there. Anthony Richardson needed some more information from his shoulder surgeon in L.A. Got that back. He's present but not participating in mandatory minicamp out on West 56th Street. It is 100% in showing, according to Shane Steichen a little bit earlier today. Get into that and a lot more. And I mentioned the presser also coming up here. We will go to that if it takes place and then jump back to Greg on the other side of that. But since we have Greg right here on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, Greg Rakestraw joins us now. Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Well, as normal, we're kind of flying by our ass ends right here. So if we go to a press conference, we will probably put you on hold and go to the press conference and then bring you back, if that's cool with you.
That's perfectly fine.
All right, Daniel Jones. I guess we now see a reason. I don't know how much information they had prior to, but a good reason as to why Daniel Jones is in the fold. Where would you gauge him being the week one starter? There's absolutely zero way at this point with what we know he's not going to be the week one starter, correct?
I would say 75-25, he's the starter, if not greater. Just because I think Anthony, in a best-case scenario, will be slow roll during training camp. That's assuming he's fully healthy. If he is not, it might just be tough for him to kind of play catch-up in terms of reps. I do take the Colts at their word. This was going to be an open competition between AR and Daniel Jones. Well, the competition obviously, I don't want to say won as in past tense, but obviously has a heavy leader right now because he's simply the guy that can be out there. And I think the fact that even Desmond Ridder is in minicamp on a tryout situation just tells you how significantly serious Anthony's shoulder situation might be. So, no, I would not maybe I'd put it in erasable ink, wouldn't bet my house on it, but who do I think the starter is going to be on September the 7th? My guess would be Daniel Jones.
Nah, I completely agree with you on that, the way that it's going here. Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Anything else significant you're thinking about as far as Colts mandatory minicamp is concerned?
Significant. I mean, let's face it. I don't think there's anything that we can have a question mark in mid-June that we don't have the exact same question mark in late July when guys reconvene. But just how important is the linebacker position going to be? Is Jermaine Pratt heading this way? Might there be another free agent pickup? Including this team that you thought would all have a chance to play. It does not look in Lou Anarumo's system that need is going to be for as many. But just the overall health and knowing that, this is the most you've questioned the depth of the linebacker room in a long time. That's not been a problem. Now you worry about injuries and depth of this team. And so to me, that's the other thing. Obviously, the quarterback situation blots out the sun, but that's the next question mark that you would tend to have.
Yeah, it's funny, too, about linebackers. It doesn't seem like the Colts really view that as too much of a significant need right now.
Correct. And I think that's an indication of you're going to see, this has been really a base 4-2-5. I'm talking about it being a base 4-3. They have played far more downs with 5 defensive backs and 2 linebackers than they have, the standard 4-3-4, lack of a better term. You may see as much nickel and dime as you do, in years gone by, which again further kind of reduces what is asked of the linebacker position. So doesn't seem to be something of great concern right now.
So Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I guess we're not going to go to this considering it is officially underway. And I saw Chris Hagan just reference in the last minute the Irsay Daughters began the news conference by assuring fans the team will remain in the family, which I think probably, maybe for the longer term, but was probably at the top of the list of concerns and questions that most of the fan base had upon the passing of Jim Irsay.
Well, let's face it, we are getting into stuff that you and I, we generally think we were talking about when it comes to sports, not so much in terms of inheritance tax, but that really would tend to be the question. But knowing that there has been a pretty clear delineation of, listen, Carly is going to be the point person as mandated by the National Football League for day-to-day operations, but that both Casey as well as Kaylin have specific job responsibilities as well, and largely that matches up with especially what Carly and Kaylin have done in terms of being involved in one, the football operation, the other kind of in the forward-facing side of things, community relation. Clearly there was a plan in place, and in the very early days, that plan is not kind of visible to everybody from the outside looking in.
He is Greg Rakestraw. He is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'll maybe ask you a question about the Pacers in Game 3 with the Thunder tomorrow night in a second. But overall, the Indiana-Kentucky experience over this past weekend, how'd it go?
Well, good for Kentucky and their girls winning, and they've got a young lady named Zakiya Johnson's going to play at LSU. That is one of the top recruits in the country, and she played like it. She rewrote the record books. She got helped by having a double overtime, but she broke the record that was held by Tiffany Goodman from back in our day, John. She graduated in '94. She had scored 55 combined points in 2 games. Kentucky's Miss Basketball scored 62 at 28 and 34. Peyton Bradley from Meade County, going to play at the University of Louisville for Kentucky. She had 26. So the Indiana squad probably had more depth, but the top-end talent ended up being a little bit better for Kentucky. Their girls swept for the first time since 2012. As far as the boys were concerned, Indiana boys got a sweep. They have now won 45 of the last 52 meetings. Malachi Marino, the top recruit from Kentucky for the University of Kentucky, he played on Friday night, and Indiana won by 9. He already had a commitment at UK, so he did not play on Saturday. Indiana boys won by double digits, but frankly, it was more than that. They led by 32 at one point in time in the second half. Relatively easy sweep for Team Indiana. But all in all, a good weekend. We could probably use with that series being a bit more competitive. It has been on the girls' side. And the girls' team is pretty good. They had a key injury in Meredith Tipner, who could not play. But at the same time, upper half Indiana girls team and Bluegrass State.
So Greg Rakestraw, whose phone, you may want to stay still as possible because your phone is in and out there with that particular information on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I know I've got to do a remote. Normally I do for the high school baseball. The last on the calendar year would be that of the state finals in baseball. How did we do over the weekend getting there?
So everybody is out of the semi-state round. So in terms of baseball, teams will have to win twice on Saturday to make it to Victory Field. And it is a week later because the way the calendar kind of works out this year. And so it's softball state finals that have my attention right now because that'll be at Benninger Stadium at Purdue coming up on Friday and Saturday, and I will have the Friday games each of the next 2 weekends. From a baseball standpoint, semi-state is what's coming up this coming Saturday.
Semi-state. So I'm just kind of curious, as far as the way how's this baseball season stack up compared to the high caliber, high level we have seen most recently?
You know, I'm not sure if there is maybe the top-end talent. You know, it's not like we're pointing to a Max Clark or a Colson Montgomery the way we have in years gone by. There's probably more depth, but we're not talking about a kid like a first-round pick. The pitcher from Greenfield Central, the Rhodes kid that is at Mississippi State, you know, he led them to the regional round, but North Central didn't beat them, you know, this past week. So I would say good to very good, but we're not necessarily talking about a guy that is a can't-miss prospect out of this senior group.
So Greg Rakestraw, who's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You Pacers, you get the Thunder, game number 3, the first time in 25 years that the NBA Finals have been here in downtown Indy. What do you recollect about 25 years ago? Because, I remember I was just starting out with Bragg and Benner, basically, at that point in time. But there were some good memories back then, but the Pacers have a chance to make them even better, more vivid, certainly coming up in the next couple of meetings.
The two things I vividly remember One was where I was when they won Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals to make the NBA Finals for the first time, and I was at Griffin's Pub on the South Side celebrating, enjoying that. I also remember watching Kobe Bryant go off in Game 4, the one game the Lakers won, the only road win of that series. I remember I kept thinking, all right, this is kind of a signature moment. This is what we are going to see for the next few years. And obviously, he finished with a handful of NBA championships before retiring some 16 years later. But it's those couple things that so vividly stand out to me from 25 years ago. And lest we forget, between you and me, I think we worked like 13 consecutive hours back on 1260 in those days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, that's where you had to have a live body in there back then, too. Remember that? So we
did have somebody there 24/7, 365. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, listen, everybody had a shift, and it went overnight, too, back then.
Absolutely.
So, all right, give me some thoughts on Game 3, Game 4, and what we've seen from the Pacers so far. Are they fortunate to be 1-1, or as good a position as you expected it would be when you get a road win, and they did in Game number 1?
I would say they accomplished what they had to in terms of getting one road victory, but they've led for 0.3 of a second in the series, John, and so it's in some degrees it's got to be better. But let's acknowledge those other guys are really damn good, all right?
They
Oklahoma City is the best team in the league for a reason, and what they look like from a defensive standpoint is pretty jaw-dropping, and it gets your attention. And, the Tyrese Halliburton conversation, there's no way you can spin this other than he has had a phenomenal postseason. And the fact that he has had 4 jaw-dropping game-ending moments in each of the different series is crazy. But does this team still need more from him to win the finals? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
He's got to be more aggressive. He's got to do a better job in looking for his shot. He has been spectacular. But to beat Oklahoma City, the Pacers need even more from him.
Yeah, I'm telling you, too, you look at that simple stat that the Pacers are 32-4 this season when Halliburton scores at least 20 points. And you got to look at that as being real, because on the other side of it, beneath 20, they're 27-27. So much goes into stats. I think sometimes they're a throwaway. There's a lot of believability in that particular stat.
Correct. And I respect his the point guard nature. I respect almost deferring into the second half, let other guys getting rid of him. But sometimes you are better serving your teammates by going out and getting yours.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be the focus for him coming into tomorrow night's game.
The point you made, though, at the outset is clear, and I think perfectly put, is easier said than done with what OKC is trying to take away and can take away because of their defensive prowess and the depth with that, which is really to a level, and I can't remember the last time we saw somebody compared it, Greg, and I thought this was a really good comparison to that of the NFL and the Legion of Boom. And they would come at you hard and physical, and their suggestion was, we're going to come at you, and you can't call everything. You may call something,
Correct,
but you can't call everything. But we're going to come at you in waves. And to a degree, that's what the Thunder do defensively, too.
Well, let's face it, these two teams, when because of covering the Pacers in the 90s and mid-2000s, there was a Pacers-Pistons conference final game that finished, 68-66? That's a halftime score now. But yet we're using the same word in a completely different methodology. What has been the word most associated with the Pacers in the playoffs? Physical. And you go, wait a minute, that's not how a physical basketball game was played from 1994 through 2005 when the Pacers were making the conference finals on a regular basis. But it's a different type of physicality. It's more of a, you can't keep up with our athleticism. And probably the one team that is built that could do that with the Pacers would be the team they're playing right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
No doubt about that. Greg Rakestraw is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So the softball state coming up for you this weekend, right?
Correct. So my schedule's kind of formulaic the next couple of weeks. A state championship doubleheader on Friday, Indy 11 soccer on Saturday, and I hear that there are forces behind the scenes, that there could be a JMV takeover at Carroll Stadium at some point in time this summer.
I've just got my fingers crossed that I'm still alive.
I think you'll make it, John. You're all healthy these days.
I got a rally, buddy. I got a rally in me. I do right now. It just doesn't sound like I have much of a rally in me presently. So,
I was asked about my bullpen status for the last couple of days, but unfortunately, I've got a lot of windshield time this week. So the reason that the phone was cutting out is I was driving through one of your favorite named towns in Indiana. I was driving around Floyd's Knobs, and now I'm on the way to Lanesville as we speak.
Floyd's Knobs. Oh, yeah. Wonderful southern Indiana right there. That's double
one day,
southern.
John, I went from having lunch in front of a scoreboard that said Cedar Knob to driving to the town of my birth, that being Floyd's Knobs.
You staying down there for a little bit or doubling back here quickly?
You know the way that I work, John. I get in and out of town quickly before the law can catch me, so I'll be out by the time the sun goes down.
That's before they they know you're in town, but they don't have time to wrangle up your priors, is what you're saying.
When people ask my autograph, John, usually it's for a bill. I get it.
I appreciate you, man. Drive safely.
See you, pal.
It's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What time for PJ Carlissimo?
He's coming up at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock for PJ Carlissimo, the former NBA coach. Good break on either side with these two teams in mind. Even a game apiece, best of 7. Game number 3 is coming up tomorrow night. Got you covered until 8 o'clock, in fact, at the pub downtown next to Cambridge Fieldhouse. I'm going to have plenty of room for you to hang. So who's with me? I promise you this. I'll rally before tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. I may sound as if I need the day off right now, but I'll rally before tomorrow. So tomorrow, the pub downtown, Pivot Hyatt House on Friday. But matters at hand first. That, of course, would be game number 3. The pub with Michelob Ultra brings us to you tomorrow, beginning at 3 o'clock. Stream the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Sign up for that 2-seater ride today, AAA.com to become a member. Also understand this, to become a member, they also got your back on the summer vacation.
The Ride with JMV.
Don't read your email because I'm really butthurt when you read your email.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
But it was the second day of OTAs that they shut him down. He's going to go visit with Dr. Neil Alie-Cox. I believe that's going to happen this week to go and get it checked out.
Oh, you don't want to hear that name, man.
And Alie-Cox was the one who did the surgery initially. So it's one of those, Rich, where it's like, I mean, when you're talking about like the soreness coming back in the shoulder, and no, he hasn't had surgery yet, but he's going to have more opinions on it. It just gets you worried, so I would say I take both of them very seriously because, anything to do with a quarterback's throwing shoulder, elbow, wrist, whatever is serious. But, when it's a repeat thing, that's where it's like, oh boy, so yeah, I think it seems, at least right now, like there's a really good chance Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts in Week 1, and Anthony Richardson faces a lot of uncertainty going forward.
That's Albert Breer on the Rich Eisen show from yesterday. And Shane Steichen has told the assembled media the same thing a little bit earlier today. Now, I would say, wow, that's awful, but you've been down this awful path before. So how awful can it be? Right? And I don't know if that is like the depths of sadness that those words probably does not have the type of impact that it normally might, considering what everybody around here has been through with that position over the past 10 years. Anybody else feel the same way? It's like, yeah, all right. Yeah, second opinion, whatever. Like Rich Eisen, like there was a gasp. Well, you don't want to hear that name. Everybody around here goes, yeah, here it is again. Just don't have the same feeling as everybody else might because it's been 10 years basically of the same damn thing. It's crazy. PJ Carlissimo from ESPN Radio, the NBA Finals, the former coach, going to join us on the other side. We're going to talk about Game 3 tomorrow night, get you set
JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
PJ Carlesimo is going to join us coming up in a couple of minutes. Game 3 tomorrow. Anthony Richardson is present and accounted for, however, not participating, as you well know. They're hoping once they get back to training camp that he is going to be available. It's just funny. You kind of listen to all this news about the shoulder and the re-aggravation, and it just doesn't hit the same way, does it? Because you've just been down this path. You were a doubter anyway. So you remain a doubter in all this. And no question about it. Just kind of where you are. Which is kind of amazing when he comes right down to it. That's a lot of stuff to get through. I mean, you're thinking about all the content, all the conversation we have about the quarterback position over the past 10 years. That is a lot of stuff for the fans to sift through. I'm assuming most are just on, hey, whatever's next. You'll just have to recalibrate and try it all again. Yeah, not much hope about it at this point, and I guess we focus in on one Daniel Jones to find out what's happening. Yeah, I saw this. Mike Chappell asked the level of confidence in the direction of the team, along with Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen. Carly's response was, Chris and Shane know they have things to fix. We have a standard here, and it hasn't been met. Interesting. Carly Ursay Gordon asked about Anthony Richardson. Quote, I think he has all the potential in the world. Acknowledged that the shaky start to his career, but thinks he can still be a great player. Just a couple of things from that presser that started back at 3:30. Mo Alie-Cox, the Colts tight end, also joins us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll discuss a lot, and I'm sure including mandatory minicamp for the Colts coming up a little bit later. On ESPN Radio during the NBA Finals. We want to learn more about this even at a game apiece in the best of 7, Game 3 tomorrow night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We'll be there live at the pub across the street beginning at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon for you guys in preparation. But PJ Carlesimo joins us now. Hey, PJ, thank you for the time. How are you?
I'm fine, John. I wish I was at the pub with you tomorrow.
You should be.
Over Gainbridge, but I think they'll frown on it if I stop in, so we'll just have to deal with the arena, I guess.
Let me tell you this. You are absolutely welcome. There is nothing better for a broadcast than having a primer or two over there and a little conversation with me.
It probably would help me, but I got a hunch John Medani, our producer, is not going to let me do it. But thank you for the invite.
Yeah, you got it. So the Pacers and the Thunder to this point, I've described it in this fashion. I think we have seen what we know so far both of these teams have been about. So the Thunder have been about what we saw in game number 2 the entirety of the season. The Pacers have been about what we saw in game number 1 for the length of the postseason. Are we meeting somewhere in the middle right there? Because clearly the Pacers have to play better for a longer period of time. But it's kind of like we have seen in both of these games the MOs of both of these teams so far in this finals.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. Rick Carlisle told us before game 1, I believe, we have to play our game better than they play their game. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what you're alluding to, because the styles are different, the matchup. I think, frankly, I never do pick. I'm not good at it when I do. But without question, in my mind, OKC's been the best team in the NBA the entire year. So Indiana has their work cut out for them. I think that was a given from day one. It's not a mismatch. It's not. There's no way they can compete. They certainly can, but they need to do a lot of things well. They need to take care of the ball, which they haven't done. They did a decent job in the 2 games in the regular season. They haven't done Second game, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. It's just too many turnovers against the team that feeds on them. Now, it's not an accident. You're talking to, OKC is the best team in the league at steals and at forcing turnovers, and it's compounded by the fact that they turn it over the least of all the teams in the NBA. So you got a real problem in terms of possessions and taking care of the ball. Then on top of that, I think that Indiana needs to defend a little bit better than they have. Really, the only, I say good, I don't know if Wick would agree, but their best defensive quarter was the fourth quarter of game one. In the second half of both games, they put 66 points on the board. 66 points is really getting after it on the offensive end. So I think they've solved more of the issues on the offensive end, but OKC is just a tough team to defend, and it can be a problem. What happened, I thought, in the first half of game two, because OKC was defending so well, they were in a half-court defense almost the entire time. Their offense was really efficient. Indiana it seemed like they were just taking the ball out of bounds every time, and they're coming down, and OKC's defense is already set. They didn't create enough turnovers. They didn't really get enough stops and defensive rebounds. So the term that they never used it when I was coaching, but I think it's a great term, is playing downhill. Indiana just wasn't playing downhill enough. They were coming up against, arguably the best defense in the league. And it's just too hard to do anything against that defense. So somehow they got to create a few more turnovers. They need to get more than a few more stops. But if they get a few more stops, then I think they're going to get some open transition. They're going to have open floor. Guys are going to have room to maneuver a little bit. You just picture, John, there's so many possessions where the Pacers are trying to run their offense, and OKC's got them backed up outside the three-point line. Sometimes they pick up so high. It's like, where you trying to run your offense here? But it's not an accident. It's by design. That's how good OKC is on the defensive end.
He is PJ Carlissimo. You can hear him on the national broadcast, the ESPN Radio national broadcast, NBA Finals Game 3 at the Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow night. To me, this is about two teams trying to make the other at its most uncomfortable, if that makes any sense to you. And I get what you're saying. Yeah, and I get what you're saying right here, because you saw that uncomfortable nature of the Thunder down the stretch in game number one. But, they were floating around on a cloud for most of that game in game number two. And I'll tell you this, the impact of SGA is one thing. He's going to roll out of bed and get 30. What Holmgren and Williams did, okay, but you can't have 9 of 16 from distance from Caruso and Wiggins when, PJ, these guys are stepping into threes with nobody in the zip code that are essentially layups in this era of the NBA.
Well, again, getting back to the defense, and don't get me wrong, it's not an accident that team is that good. The reason that they had the best record, a historic record, in the league, is they're arguably one of the best 2 or 3 offensive teams, and I don't even think it's arguable. I think they're the best defensive team. So the combination is a problem. Big factor in game one, obviously, was the bench play. Obi's the one that made the 5 threes, but still, it was Indiana's bench outplayed OKC's bench. When the game is over and you're looking at the stats, you're saying, like, where was the advantage? It was the three-point shooting. It was the bench. OKC turned the tables in the second game. You mentioned Caruso and Wiggins. They just were, making every shot they made. And so it was a big plus in game two for the OKC bench. But that's what they do. They put a lot of pressure on you. Both of these coaches will go deep into their benches, and both of the coaches, have reason to expect to get positive contributions. But like when you're going to beat OKC, it's like, well, we got to take care of the ball. We have to shoot the ball well. We got to get stops. It's funny too, because for the playoffs, OKC's not shooting the three nearly as well as they did in the regular season, but they're getting offensive rebounds way better than they did in the regular season. So, again, I think there's different ways Indiana can get out in the open floor. And one of the things is to put OKC back on their heels. If they're a little more efficient offensively or if they come up with a couple offensive rebounds themselves, which I know is not Indiana's forte. But again, it's like OKC for most of game 2 was playing downhill. It just seemed like when you pictured a game, it's like those guys are running down the floor, they're playing open floor, they're popping the ball around like you talked about, and they're getting, pretty good shots. And Indiana's coming up the floor, and here's OKC already set up, and they're, picking up high. They're overplaying passing lanes. If you try and throw a lob pass, they swallow it up inside, and they're contesting at the rim really well. So I just think that they did a much better job in terms of getting Indiana, to play against their defense. But Indiana is fully capable of getting it rolling, and starting to play downhill. And now all of a sudden things open up. I don't want to say easily, but Tyrese, I think, is a lot more comfortable. Pascal is a lot more comfortable. And all of a sudden you see that flow that you saw so many times throughout the first 16 games of the playoffs from Indiana.
You mentioned, PJ, being out-rebounded in game number 2. The Pacers had the advantage in game 1, which probably had more to do with the turnovers because, hell, I don't even know how many less rebounding opportunities the Thunder had because they were going in a different direction. I do want to mention this to you because you're a former coach and you would understand this. I felt compelled to talk about this after game. It's back on Friday after game number 1. Like, you turned the ball over 19 times in the first half, 24 times for the entirety of the game, and you gave up 11 points off of turnovers, which is astounding to me for the Pacers, which would speak to not hanging your head and getting back on defense and trying to make a defensive play. That's part of this as well, because the one thing that we noticed in game number 2 is when at a lower clip, OKC turned over the Pacers, they had a higher clip of scoring off of those turnovers. I thought the Pacers were elite in getting back after making those miscues and stopping the basketball more so in game 1 than we saw in game 2, and that turned out to be, I thought, a huge difference.
I agree, but part of it, I agree, most of it was good, as you called it, elite defense, elite transition defense by Indiana. But you know what else happened in game 1 that was really strange, and I should go back and rewatch the turnovers and chart it. There was an inordinately high number of dead ball turnovers. They had a number of turnovers that were either violations or they threw the ball out of bounds, and OKC had to inbound it and come up and play against set defense from Indiana. OKC is so used to when they gobble the ball up and it's live, it's a live ball turnover, and here they come down the floor in transition, and you really can't get back. You talk about, we got to do a better job getting back. When you give the ball up, like particularly from the foul line higher, they intercept some of those cross-court passes, there's really nothing you can do against a team that has, 5 guys capable of running the floor and passing and catching the ball. But fortunately for Indiana in game 1, there were a lot of dead ball turnovers. Now, I know it's silly logic. When you turn the ball over 24 or 25 times, it's a disaster for sure. But if you are going to turn the ball over, you are so much better off with a dead ball turnover than a live ball turnover. I mean, that happens sometimes. I mean, we tell players repeatedly late in the clock, like it's down to, the shot clock's running down 3, 2, 1, and they just kind of throw up like a bad shot or a really silly pass, a floater that ends up going the other way. And we say, take the violation, let them take the ball out of bounds, and come back and let them play against our set defense. And I thought Indiana did that much better in game 1.
It's PJ Carlissimo of ESPN Radios on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Game 3 tomorrow night, Cambridge Fieldhouse, best of 7 tied at a game apiece. I don't know how much I look at these actual analytics and the numbers, but 2 numbers I do believe in would be the orchestration from Halliburton, getting everybody else involved. Those that can't consistently get their own are positioned to score in a comfortable area with Halliburton pulling the trigger. But I also think he has to be focused in on getting his own. So the 20-point mark is what is necessary, I think, to feel good about the Pacers. The other point total to me is that of total points in the game, 110. I know that the Thunder put up 123 in game number 2, and you would have still lost. But I just think it's always essential for this Pacer team to get 110 or above, especially against a team like this, to give itself the most legitimate opportunity to win.
Yeah, I like the 110 number a lot more. And what people don't realize is, again, it's the simplistic, but it's putting the ball in the basket and making OKC take the ball out of bounds. It's getting to the free throw line, and OKC, not doing that as much, and it's always the turnover battle against OKC. If Indiana gets 110, it's not going to be an old ABA game. It's not going to be 128 to 140 or something like that. If they do the 110, that's going to make their defense so much better. They're going to make OKC take the ball out of bounds, and it's going to be a totally different game, and they're probably going to play more downhill to get to that 110 number. So I think it impacts their defense as much as it, everybody said, well, yeah, 110. No, they can't get 110 and defend the way they're playing, but I don't think they can get 110 unless they defend a lot better. And then I think both things fall in place in that situation.
It's PJ Carlissimo with us. So what's your feel going into tomorrow night's game number 3 out of what you've seen of the first two to this point?
I expect Indiana to play a little bit better overall, but where they really need to play better is on the defensive end. As great as the crowd is going to be, and I think the atmosphere will be fantastic. We were here for last year. We were here a lot. We were here for most of the New York series last year. We were mostly in the West the first 2 rounds this year. I think Gamebridge will be a positive, but I think not as much as I think that the team has got to make the crowd be. The crowd's going to come in. They're going to be jacked up and all that. But I just think that they can't play from behind the way they've been playing from behind, even though the numbers weren't as bad. They're down too many points at the half. They're even down too many points going into the fourth quarter, like 9. After being down 19 in game 2, you look back to game 1 and say, oh, we're only down 9. I mean, you can't say you're only down 9. You can't be down 12 at the half and 18 at the half. They just need to play better out of the chute. OKC's too good a team to dig a hole, that deep a hole against it. Say, well, we're good. We've come back a number of times. You can't. And the deeper you get in the playoffs, when you're playing, the best team in the West and arguably the best team in the league, you just can't keep digging those holes. As good as Indiana has been coming from behind, I don't think that's the recipe. I think the recipe is play better defense early and have a really good, back and forth game. They could trail a little bit, but they can't be spotting them, the halftime and third quarter leads that they did in games 1 and game 2.
No, there's no doubt about that. I did want to ask you this. As a former coach, you look at the way these two teams are put together, and, I mean, you can see a great deal of team concept and depth. And that goes away from what has been the NBA logic for a number of years with the 2- and 3-star caliber and other guys just kind of filtering in different roles. Do you think other organizations see, and also the pace of play, I guess, is the other aspect. You think other organizations see what's going on here and we'll see a little bit of a trend to try to be more like what we see with these two finals teams, or will it remain the same, a star caliber type of league?
No, I think it's gotten so crazy with the aprons and the way it's structured right now. I think everybody talks about, and he deserves a ton of credit, Sam Presti, who I worked with in San Antonio and Seattle and OKC. They talk about, Sam and the job those guys have done. Kevin Pritchard and Chad Buchanan have done an incredible job putting a team together, a young team. I like the fact that both these teams have continuity. They built upon what they did last year. Pacers have 12 guys back from their playoff roster from last year. OKC's got 10. Now, OKC, I'll give them, they did make 2 great pickups in Hartenstein, who the Knicks couldn't keep because of the rules that we're kind of talking about a little bit. And Alex Caruso was a tremendous addition also. But I just like the fact that there's continuity in both of these teams. You've had the same coach in place. You've got a lot of the roster has stayed the same. And even though they're both relatively young rosters, I think it's the second youngest playoff matchup going back to Portland when Dr. Jack won in 77 in terms of, the relative youth of both teams. I think this NBA's always been a copycat league. And I think exactly what you're talking about, we're going to see more of going forward.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because I look at these guys like in incredible shape anyway. But I've heard from, I think Adelman mentioned that in Denver. It's been mentioned a couple of different times about how the shape, because I look at these two teams as being arguably in the best shape of any two teams in the NBA to play the pace and the style in which they play. And when they put that on you, like we saw with the Knicks and the Pacers, that puts you in a bad spot. And it seems like there's been a lot of talk and a lot of preaching about players being in even better shape going into next year. And I think that that is a trend that speaks to what we're talking about with these two teams right here.
Both of these teams like to give it a choice. You put the ball in the basket or after a free throw. They both like to pick up full court if they can. They both like to put pressure on you from one end of the court to the other. They both work on both ends of the floor. They'll pressure you to get after it defensively. They both want to run. There's no question. They both go into their bench. They use a lot of players. Compared to most of the teams in the league, I think the relative youth is a factor for sure. But I totally agree that the way they play puts so much pressure on. Tomorrow night is going to be the 101st game for both of these teams. The 101st game they've both played this year. That's incredible. And they both went through, not easy runs. I think the OKC was something like 12 games in 24 days coming in, and Indiana was not much different in terms of what they did on their side. So these teams it's not an accident that they're both not just playing now, but playing at a really high level, and that other teams had trouble dealing with them in the playoffs, particularly in a 7-game series, even more so in those earlier series that weren't spread out. The one thing that has always been kind of unique about the finals, and I don't think it really applies to either team in this case, but I remember back when I was lucky enough to be in San Antonio, we had a veteran roster very often, and we would love to get to the finals because you had days off in between. Travel wasn't a factor anymore. Unfortunately, game 3-4 happened so quick together here in Indianapolis, but still, it's so much more spaced out. The conference finals you play every other day. They say, well, the travel's easier. Sometimes the travel's not that much easier. Indiana, New York was not bad, but it's hard to get from. Even fortunately for the teams, you got the charters, but it's hard to get from OKC to anywhere. But OKC to Minneapolis was tough. So it's all these things play in, and again, I think it goes back to Kevin Pritchard and Chad and Sam Presti and the job, Rob Henning and the job that these front offices have done, putting these teams together. It's really not an accident. These guys are playing at this level in the 101st game of the year for both of them.
All right, PJ, if you're sure you can't talk your producer into letting you slide by the pub before you head over to the field house tomorrow, that the case?
All right, John, I'm afraid that's what it is, but I hope I can sneak in there one of these times. Thank you.
You got it, man. Hey, it's good to have a conversation with you. It really is. Thanks for spending the time this afternoon, and have a great call coming up tomorrow night on ESPN Radio.
Have a good one yourself. Thank you.
It's PJ Carlissimo right there, ESPN Radio. NBA Finals Game 3 tomorrow night. He is a good dude, as you can tell right there. PJ Carlissimo, the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline. Evan Sherrill from Cluster Truck is in here. What do we got in the bag, my brother?
Salmon and roasted veggies as always. Got a Chipotle cheesesteak for James, some tater tots, our brand new Chaos cookies as well.
Chaos cookies. What's this about?
Oh, yeah, Chaos cookies. It's got like 6 ingredients in it. I'm going to try and rattle all 6 off. We got chocolate chips, peanut butter chips, pretzels, chopped pecan, sandwich cookies, and potato chips, all in the cookie.
Potato chips?
Yep, all that in the cookie, and they are fire.
What kind of potato chips? Just normal potato chips, though?
Yeah, I think just like to add some salt to it, but they're fire for sure.
Who thought of the
Sounds like
chaos thing?
Sounds like a stoner's dream right there.
Well, you should know, right over there, right, James? James would know about the stoner's dream. Call it, that'd be something, James. You could call it the James cookie.
That's the Juicy James cookie
stoner's
right
dream.
there.
The Juicy James.
Juicy James for you. So who came up with that idea, the chaos cookie?
I don't know who to attribute that to, but whoever it was, they are good. So I'm looking forward to the review next week, James.
I'm looking forward to trying them.
For sure.
Wow, that's great. Did you put 2 in there?
I put 3 in there.
3. James, you got all 3. Yes. Unless I take one home for the kids or something like that.
Take 1 or 2 of them home, split them up.
Hey, man, I appreciate you very much. And again, FAN is the promo code at clustertruck.com. A great time if you're not heading downtown to go ahead and make those orders coming up this week. $25 or more, $5 off if you use the promo code FAN.
FAN is the promo code, and for every finals game, home or away, we got the Dunk Fest special live on the menu. It's our, March Madness special. Cheesy bread, 2 pounds of chicken strips, churros, and chips and queso, all for $29.99. So all dunkable items. It is the perfect special for game day.
Are you guys constantly coming up with new items on the menu?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always pushing for that as the marketing guy for sure.
Yeah.
Operationally, not so much, but it's a give and take for sure. And
who does the test? We got to get James in for the test of these.
Yeah, honestly, we constantly think about
Is there
doing
anything that
testing and
hasn't
whatnot.
made it to the menu that you tried?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you tell us or?
Yeah, of course. One thing that I was thinking about earlier, actually looking through some like menu photos that we've taken. Jeff Rickard's favorite, the Korean beef and broccoli, has like a sister dish. Hit the mic, sorry. Sister dish. It's like Korean chicken and broccoli. That one hasn't made it yet, but that is fire. And I am.
So the Jeff Rickard, that's a Jeff Rickard brainchild right there?
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh.
But it's just the thing that he goes back to every time. He loves it.
Korean beef and broccoli.
Yeah. It's very good. Honestly, I feel like you would like it. Maybe I got to bring it for James one time, but.
I will take and try any food you want me to, man.
Nice, yeah.
Anytime you need a taste tester, just call me. I'll come on in.
We have a list of like the cluster truck like super fans, and we always play around with the idea of bringing them in to test out new items. Not having a dining room in our kitchens though, since we're pickup and delivery only, does add a little bit of a challenge for that. But it's something we want to do in the future, and maybe we start with the fan.
I'll stand and eat. I don't care. I don't need to share.
Fried bologna. Have you tried that yet?
We haven't, but since you've been on this like new,
I can't do it.
That's what I'm saying. I want it for you.
Yeah, something more for me. Yeah,
you'd have to break your diet once if they did a fried bologna. One fried bologna isn't going to kill you.
We just get one little nibble for social media content or something.
You could
like
do
that.
something with a cottage cheese of sorts, probably.
Yeah,
a little mixture of tuna and cottage cheese on a keto wrap.
See, I want it to be for you, but it can't only be for you. We gotta
smoked tuna and cottage cheese on keto wrap. Do you think anybody would buy that?
I think I'm looking at the only person.
That might be it right there.
They got to sell more than one, John.
Yeah, got to sell more than one right there. All right, clustertruck.com, promo code FAN. Right, Evan?
Clustertruck.com, download the app, promo code FAN, and check out the Dunk Fest special.
It's awesome. Evan Sherrill is in here of Cluster Truck. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, guys.
We got a little food tonight. Evan Sherrill, clustertruck.com. The promo code FAN, $5 off a $25 order or more. I think people will be down with fried bologna, a little spicy brown mustard in there. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if you go spicy brown mustard or yellow. It's well done. All right, quick break. We'll come back. PJ Carlissimo was outstanding. That podcast, 1075thefan.com. We may have to think about re-racking that tomorrow when I have to do the marathon for 5 hours down at the pub. So if we can't get him to come to the pub, maybe we'll re-rack that and bring him to the pub with us coming up tomorrow. Alie-Cox, Colts tight end, not just about the Colts and mandatory minicamp, but also because he played it collegiately. A little bit of hoops conversation with Mo coming up here at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
got a boner at PE in high school. He was wearing sweatpants. It was really embarrassing, so this song goes out to him.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
When the Pacers got on that plane last night after losing by 16 and they landed, they go to practice today. They like, we did it, guys. We did our job. We went into OKC and we stole one. That was the message all along, because when I've been on teams and we go on the road for any rounds, we got to get one. So mission accomplished. They feeling good. Now the pressure's on the Thunder because Indiana got home court advantage, and I don't care where they played in the Western Conference on the road all year, and I know Denver's a tough place to play, but it ain't going to be like the Indiana crowd. Let me tell you, that Indiana crowd, I had number of opportunities to play in that building, and that's a special place to play basketball because, it ain't nothing really to do in Indiana. So everybody, they just go to the Indiana Pacer game.
Steak and shake.
You said it was a great place to play,
then you went ahead and just threw a zinger.
They got a steak and shake, and that's it. Then they go to the game.
I like Steak and Shake, though.
Yeah, they go to the game.
Right on the corner.
Right there on the corner. That's where they all congregate. It's like the club out there. and they go to the games. That's That's the two things they do in Indiana. So, that crowd going to be hype.
And that one steakhouse with the over...
Oh, no, and they got the little burger place.
Samuel's?
The overhyped cocktail sauce.
The good steak.
Yeah, come on.
The steak spot's pretty
What
good.
is it?
Steak Elmo's. St. Elmo's.
St. Elmo's.
They
That's
got
legit.
more horseradish in the damn cocktail sauce than anything. That's all. I can do it right at home, Joy, and bring you some.
I've never been. Sounds wonderful.
I'll tell you, the crowd in Indiana, this is like religion down there, though. It really is like going to church.
Yeah.
They can't wait for this. So pressure's all on the Thunder. Indiana, y'all get ready because Steak and Shake sales is about to be up this Wednesday. They're going to crowd in there and then go to the game.
It's a lot of Paul Pierce Steak and Shake reference going on right there. Shout out to Bill Cash, who's listening right now. What is that? Speak for Yourself on Fox is the show right there. It was Paul Pierce and somebody named Joy. Who else was there? Is that Keyshawn Johnson?
Yeah, I think it's also just called Speak.
Speak?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Speak. Paul Pierce was in between talking about how there's only one steakhouse here in this town. Yeah. Like one every 5 feet.
Did you hear Keyshawn calling the cocktail sauce overrated?
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's been brilliant so far. He was really good in that Knicks series, not knowing his ass from nothing, just like he was really good back when he was on the field and live mic'd up in that Tampa Bay Colts game, asking about how Marvin Harrison, is that how he gets his catches, and then getting his ass torched. Torched. That's Keyshawn Johnson. Nah, but some things regarding Paul Pierce with this team coming back. He mentioned the pressure on the Thunder. The pressure's on both teams. And you'd probably even more so because of the level of importance the Pacers have in holding serve here for the next 2 games. I mean, really. It is on top of them. And also to put together something, PJ Carlissimo joined us a moment ago. We were talking about what you have to put together to play obviously better and to be in a better position to close. For example, into Game 3 tomorrow night. And he mentioned defense. Now, my point has always been with this Pacers team that they play at their best defensively when their offense is playing at its best. And that has been an issue because of the Oklahoma City defense. And believe me, it's legit. They don't describe things as historic just in, oh, by the way, fashion. It is legit, but we've always known that to be the case with the Pacer defense. It is always much better when the offense is humming. And as much as I like to point out how the Pacers can break off a make and off the inbounds pass, I thought PJ was accurate in talking about you get defensive stops and get out on the run and make it happen that way. And I would also mention this, even though you look at 24 turnovers in game number 1 and then you're down to 15, that is still way too much. And it should be way too much for this team that we just haven't seen them turn it over nearly at that clip this season. Again, that's the forte of the Thunder. But these are aspects in games 3 and again in game 4 that the Pacers cannot fall victim to. So getting back to the whole pressure remark, it's great if Paul Pierce thinks it's on the Thunder, but I think that there is more on the line here for the Pacers to be able to get these 2 wins at home and not surrender back home court advantage to OKC. Because I don't know about you, and I know that they have done it, and I know that the resiliency and the never give up of this particular team, it's really hard to fathom, is it not, them winning again in Oklahoma City? Man, you got one, you want to keep it that way, meaning you want to take care of what you can take care of here. Again, easier said than done. But that's definitely what you want to do. I saw a Meta World Peace is roaming around the downtown area right now. So if you're out and about, you can see him and tell him to pop on the show. Jeremiah writes this, interviewing PJ Carlissimo today, JMV. The raspy voices were like dueling banjos. Good information about the NBA Finals. I think PJ should pregame with you before Game 3. I can tell you this, he wants to. But let's just say their policy, I guess, is probably a little bit more stringent than mine. My policy is if you're buying, I'm drinking. So that policy falls in line with my ideals. If you're buying, I'm drinking. I think ESPN is probably a little bit different. That was like dueling banjos of raspy voices right there. That's well done out of you. All right, quick break, and we'll come back. Top of the hour, Mo Alie-Cox. Mo Alie-Cox, Colts tight end, about mandatory minicamp. And a lot of things, too. The passing of Jim Irsay, what Jim Irsay meant to him. And then I also wanted his basketball angle because he's been, I think, more than a handful of these postseason games. I've seen him a couple of different times at Pacer postseason games. I want to get his thoughts as a former collegiate player on this series, this NBA Finals going into game number 3 coming up tomorrow evening. Mo Alie-Cox joins us at the top of the hour. Couple of things that were said in the press conference a little bit earlier. Kind of interesting here. Carly Ursay-Gordon, Casey Foyt, Kalen Jackson, that is your level of ownership taking over for their late father, Jim Irsay. Their first press conference today did yield a couple of interesting comments. We'll do that coming up on the other side. If you've missed it, don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Ding dong.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We are very confident. Having said that, I think, as my dad said before he passed, Chris and Shane know that they have things they need to fix. And, we talked about not micromanaging people, but also we have a standard here and it hasn't been good enough. And, winning is great, but I would even take it a step further in saying, we're really committed to being the best. And if we're the best, we will win games. And I think Chris and Shane are totally capable of doing that, and we're confident that they can.
Carly Ursay Gordon meeting with the media along with sisters Casey Foyt and Kaylin Jackson a little bit earlier today. Wish TV Channel 8 with that sound right there. Thank you guys for that. Got a couple of different pieces for you coming up from that presser a little bit earlier today. The new era of Colts ownership with the media for the first time this afternoon out at West 56th Street. And so it goes with Colts mandatory minicamp. We learned yesterday from Albert Breer. We played that, and then Shane Steichen mentioned that in the meeting with the media a little bit earlier today, that indeed Anthony Richardson went out and got, I guess it's called a second opinion, but wonders, what the hell's going on with my AC joint? Why is there soreness here with the surgeon that performed that? So we learned that a little bit. Actually learned it yesterday with Albert Breer. Learned it today officially from Shane Steichen. Mo Alie-Cox is going to join us coming up here after 5 o'clock about minicamp and other things, and, of course, the NBA Finals that we'll get to. If you missed PJ Carlissimo, he was outstanding of NBA on ESPN Radio, the NBA Finals, game number 3. He and Mark Kestisher, by the way. We'll get Mark back on. He's the play-by-play voice who joined us last week. But PJ was really good a little bit earlier, breaking stuff down. We'll podcast that and give it to you, 1075thefan.com. It's from James, JMV. Yeah, we may not ever see the Pacers in this position again. I'm in my early 50s. Hell, another 25 to get back to the finals. I'll be pushing 80 or dead. Let me tell you what, James. Not this James, but the James that just mentioned that. I'm 55 right now. Yes. You got to take advantage of absolutely everything, my brother. I do. That's why I try to do it. Even through illness and sickness. BT says, hey, JMV, my friend Photo Matt caught Charles Barkley walking the streets of downtown a little bit earlier. Now, we just saw Meta World Peace, the former Ron Artest, walking around downtown, too. Matt checks in with this. The Pacers are going to need to adjust to OKC's AAU style of defense, rebound better, and limit the others offensively. SGA is going to get his. Just don't help off him as much. And Matt, that is right, too. I think essentially, and people talk about the rebounding, which is also a big deal. Don't get me wrong on that. I still maintain, going back to game number 1, where it was the Pacers out rebounding OKC, I thought that was made a little bit easier because the Pacers also turned the ball over 24 times. And PJ Carlissimo and I actually kind of came to a bit of a differing opinion where he talked about not as many live ball turnovers of the 24 compared to the transition defense. But I will say this, even off of turnovers, I saw the Pacers getting back. And that's a big deal. Because what you do is you end up turning, one significant miscue into another significant miscue. And the Pacers oftentimes in that first game giving up 11 points off of turnovers did not compound what was a problem situation of turning it over any more than you might if you do it over the course of a game 24 times. Which is kind of amazing. But the point I made in game number 2, Matt, is think about this for a moment. It was 9 of 16 from distance, 38 points in all, with the combination of Caruso and Wiggins. You tell me how the Pacers survived that. There is little to no way you survive that. And believe me, you look at those shots, they were stepping into it. Lining it up, stepping in. It's as good as a layup right there. BT says in 49 states it's a foul to reach in, but this is Oklahoma. JMV, I believe, and Rick Carlisle know there's been some adjustments made for Game 3. I hope the Pacers protect their home court. They gotta. There's no I hope. You got to eliminate the hope, and you got to do it. Seriously, there's no jacking around Wednesday or Friday around. There's no jacking around. There is a no jacking around rule on my watch. Because if you do, you're going to be done. Seriously, simply put, if you do jack around, you're done. Tyson, I did not hear this a little bit earlier. I enjoy listening to Jay Query describe JMV play pickup basketball. I did not hear that. Did he talk about my domination on Sunday? I will say this. Besides this job, that's what I loved. I don't look at that as a job. I'm going to do that forever. You know, we talk about the Pacers, getting back to the finals in the next 25 years again, right? And now you got to take advantage of it because we're all getting older when you're in the midst of it. I'm going to play basketball until something significant occurs. Either I'm no longer here or I pop an Achilles or something like that. That would be problematic. But I certainly love the hoop. Always have and always will. Even more so probably now than I used to. All right, quick break and we'll come back. Mo Alie-Cox will join me, the Colts tight end. Mandatory minicamp. The rookie first-round pick, his teammate Tyler Warren. The balls being thrown by Daniel Jones. The impact that the late Jim Irsay had on him. The new leadership. And, of course, because he's a former hooper collegiately at VCU, the NBA Finals with Mo Alie-Cox. Mo's scheduled to join us coming up on the other side. That's the stream, the app. It's HD Radio. I'm waving at you right now. The AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a member today. All the perks, especially when you go on your summertime vacation adventures. They got your back. And a 2-seater ride. Up until the 12th of June, you can sign up to win a 2-seater ride in an Indy car by becoming a AAA member today. That's AAA.com. Back with you next.
Motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, you gotta love F1. With next year's schedule, putting the Canadian Grand Prix on top of the Indy 500, same day. I know a lot of race fans are upset about that, so Indy's going to have to compete with the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal on the 24th of May of 2026. F1 doesn't, well, they don't care. Not at all. So I've seen a lot of IndyCar fans are upset. I don't know what you're going to be able to do. I mean, because they've never been your friend. They're not going to be your friend. So 2026. Didn't they used to have Monaco in the morning of the Indy 500? They had Monaco in the morning and then the Indy 500 later on in the midday. But the Canadian Grand Prix next year, right on top. What was that, 110 next year? The greatest spectacle in racing? Fever and the Dream coming up later on tonight. That is going to be an Eddie Garrison Prix for you here. Is that over on IBC or is that here tonight? Do we know? Right here tonight? Gotcha. The Fever and the Atlanta Dream. You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, too. You had press conference, first time with Carly Ursay-Gordon, Casey Floyd, and Kalen Jackson. New ownership taking over for their late father, Jim Irsay. And Carly Ursay-Gordon, a lot of interesting comments. We'll play more of those back for you a little bit earlier. Talked about the position right now of head coach and general manager that we played to. Got more for you on the inbound. Meantime, we're going to get to Mo Alie-Cox out on West 56 coming up in a minute. I got time for your calls at 239-1070 if you guys want to jump on board. Jim's going to lead here in the 5 o'clock hour. Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm good, JMV. How are you?
Jim, I'm great. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Good. Hey, real quick, am I the only one that thinks that re-signing Miles Turner would be a bad idea based on his lack of rebounding in the Knicks series and now in this series?
I think you're the only one.
Not rebound?
I think you're the only
I don't
one.
understand.
He fits great with his team. Why? They're in the finals and he fits great. Why would you want to jack with that?
Well, because I want a bigger guy to go rebound and play the pick and roll on top. And
who's that going to be? Because Jim, the requirement here is to be able also to take the top off of defense. So who you got in mind here that's going to be able to do that?
Well, I'm sure we can find somebody.
You can? Well,
yeah.
so.
Go ahead. For that kind of money that he's going to command in that new contract.
Actually, I guarantee you this: when he gets re-signed here, people will view that as a bargain. I bet you.
Okay, well, let's hope he can rebound.
I mean, tell me, no. Listen. I'll tell you this. Would you like to see him rebound more? There's no doubt about that. But is he perfect for this team as a big and the style in which they play? There is even less than a doubt about that. Like, give me a great example of who you're thinking about, just out of curiosity. I'm not going to have you come up with a name. I know that's difficult, Jim, but give me an example. Like Hartenstein? Do you like Hartenstein of OKC? Is that who it is?
Anyone who can rebound.
So when you get high ball action going, which is a staple of this Pacers offense, and Hartenstein, who's not, but will hypothetically, rolls outside the 3-point line and gets a pass from Tyrese Halliburton and then strokes a three and it lands in the 8th row, how you going to feel about that?
Well, I wouldn't like it, but I'd prefer the rebounding more than the shots. How about that?
Let me tell you this.
We got plenty of guys that can take shots.
Yeah, man. No, you got guys. We all have guys that can take shots. You got guys that can make them? That's the problem.
Well, yeah.
This team, the way that it is built and the way that it thrives and produces is based upon its offensive ability. You can't be taking anything away. You saw what happened. They didn't get to 110 in game number 2, right? You got to get to at least 110. Yeah. They're better defensively when their offense is better.
Not a question about that. All I'm saying is when I watch these games over and over, he gets out-rebounded for as big as he is. These guys just come right over his back. They box him out. They body him out, and he just concedes it.
Now, I think other guys are allowed to rebound too. His teammates can rebound if they want.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, what else you got, Jim?
That's it. That's all I got.
Jim,
I look forward to the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for the call. Jim has created a conundrum right there. Here's the thing. I'm sorry. I sit here before you right now, and I have zero idea how you would feel that bringing back Miles is a bad idea. Seriously, zero idea. And this comes, I know that I'm an 8-year supporter, but I think I've been justified. Have I not been justified? The first time you get to the finals in 25 years? I think I go all the way back 3+ years ago with what? The offer sheet signing of DeAndre Ayton? Hell of a plan right there. I got to know who else it's going to be, and you have to understand that it's not going to be anybody that can't shoot. I'm better at punting the basketball toward the rim from distance than a guy like Hartenstein is shooting it. There are plenty of better rebounders out there. But if you don't bring the cohesion on the offensive end, what the hell good's it going to do you? Zero. Got Mo's going to join us in a couple of minutes. All right, I want to make sure I leave him on a hold and me complaining about that. Tony's up next at 239-1070. Hello, Tony. Join the show.
JMV, how's it going, brother?
Tony, I'm great, thank you. It sounded like I planted a call right there. I swear to you I didn't.
I promise you did. Man, we're in the finals right now. Let's embrace it. You know what I mean? First of all, I want to give appreciation to yourself, Jake, Kevin, James, Boyd, and Jeff, the morning crew, because I listen to you guys all day long. So you guys are great, and I don't know if it's kind of weird, but this probably is a little weird, but it feels like we're almost family because I listen to you guys all day long.
I'm glad you brought that. Hey, Tony, man, thanks for bringing that up, because in this market in particular, as I always mention, this market is different. That's exactly how we would want you to feel. True story right there. Family, friends, acquaintances, and, much like Jim just called, we may have a differing opinion, but we don't, at times, I do, I know on social media, but most of the time here, I think we kind of keep it between the lines, and that feeling that you have is the feeling that we try to create for 9 hours a day here, Monday through Friday. I appreciate you mentioning that.
Well, I definitely appreciate you guys, and, the opinion about Jim, let's block that guy's number. Let's not allow him back on the.
Well, listen, he's not the only one I'm going to get about that. I don't know what people think they might be looking for. There's no combination out there that's going to make any sense for you, and you're not going to take away an offensive threat that works so well and then get you to your first NBA Finals in 25 years. To bring in some dude that can't shoot a three or can't shoot facing up and then, can't defend. There's the other thing. I mean, Hartenstein can rebound like, I keep using him as an example, and that's not even legitimate. That's just hypothetical. But a player like that, if you don't bring that quality of face-up game and the style of play offensively the Pacers have, then you can't play here. That's just the way that it is.
I totally concur. And
we're going to see how Isaiah Jackson looks when he comes back. I wonder if he's going to have any face-up ability. So coming off the bench once he returns from that Achilles situation. So, but anyway, that's for next year. What else you got, Tony?
Oh, I mean, I just, that's part of it. Just you hit it right up the head, the nail right on the head. I mean, that's part of our identity. There's very limited big men, big centers who can hit the three ball. Miles can't. and he's been a lifetime. He's been loyal to Indiana. Like, how dare you, Jim, get on the radio and speak foul?
Well, I mean, and evidently as Jay Ryan, and thank you for the call, Tony, the kind words. Again, that's exactly the role that we want to play here for you, is how Tony just described that. But as Jay Ryan just mentioned, evidently Jim didn't know he was talking to the Grand Marshal of the Re-Sign Miles Turner Parade right here, which is me. I am the Grand Marshal.
Between Jim and, what was it, Keith from a few weeks ago. Some interesting calls, man.
Trying, man. So do you think Jim was unaware of my feeling over the past 8 years?
He had to have been.
Had to.
Had to.
He'd be the only one, I would think, right now.
Him and Keith. Him and Keith from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, see, I didn't think Jim was, like, Keith was a huge dumbass. I didn't think that Jim was. I thought Jim was, like, legit.
Just led a little astray, Jim was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been 8 years. Weird. And listen, it doesn't break my stride at all here, because I have won that debate. I feel very confident. All right, joining us now, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. By the way, if you're on hold, I'll get back to you guys coming up in a minute before the end of the show. The pub tomorrow, set for game number 3. You got to be a part of it, right? I'll explain with Michelob Ultra where and when you can join me. But right now, the where and the when is, well, the where is over on West 56th Street. The when is right now. Mo Alie-Cox tied into the Colts. Joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Mo, thank you for the time. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic. You're the veteran presence, obviously, on this team right now. I was kind of curious, you're going into mandatory minicamp. How over the years have you learned to deal with it? What are you trying to get out of this? Just obviously beyond repetitions and trying to get dialed in, then take a little time off before training camp. What do you look for from yourself during these couple of days here?
Just playing fast, getting more comfortable. You're already comfortable, but then you're just getting back into the swing of things. Things are a little bit more ramped up now that you add the title camp to it. Guys are a little bit more juiced up. So for me, I'm just trying to just be consistent every day and let my work ethic speak for itself.
Yeah. So what have you done in the offseason in preparation? Is it the same stuff you routinely have done over the course of your career, or did you change things up this offseason?
I switched it up a little bit. I was on the field a lot more and probably lifted a little bit more heavier than I have in years past, just so my body could stand up to the grind a little better. Last year I ended up a little bit banged up, so I started training a little bit earlier in the off season just so my body could just hold up for the duration of the season.
He is Colts tight end Mo Alie-Cox on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Do you reevaluate how you attack the off season after every season, and has it remained the same, or do you often, after that reevaluation period, end up changing some things up?
You definitely reevaluate every offseason just because every year is just different in itself. And, like, as you get older, your body, some things might not feel like how it was when you were younger and things like that. So you definitely reevaluate and you see if you need to ramp it up in certain areas or get more recovery in certain stages of the offseason and stuff like that. So definitely I've definitely reevaluated. And this year, I definitely focused on a bunch of different things.
So Mo Alie-Cox, Colts tight end with us. The Colts drafted a tight end out of Penn State. What's been your impression on Tyler Warren to this point, at least from what you've seen?
Definitely hard worker, quick learner. Definitely improving every day because, it's all a new system for him. So just every day, he definitely doesn't make the same mistake twice if mistakes happen. And you can just tell he has that dog mentality.
Man, that's something you either have or you don't, isn't it? You bring up dog mentality all the time. I feel bad, Mo, when I bring it up because I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't think. You guys do because, you've performed it, and that's why you are where you are. How do you know if somebody has it and it's real?
Just the way they carry themselves and the way they play on the field. With Tyler, you see, like, he catches a pass, he's going to try to run through your face, where some dudes might try to juke you out and get pretty. Like, he knows what works for him. And then, like, in the run game, you just see his nastiness and finishing blocks and just his aggressiveness and power he uses in that aspect of the game. So you definitely see that he has that dog in him.
I'm assuming right now, Mo, that you have this offense down like the back of your hand. How long did it take you to apply what you're learning with this offense and obviously be able to perform it in your sleep the way that you do right now? Is that still a learning process, or was there a point in time where you thought, you know what, I have it in its entirety right now?
I think I kind of have it fully down right now just because I've been running it since Frank was here. So, I mean, every year we add little different wrinkles and stuff like that, but I definitely think I have it down. But it definitely took about 2 years, maybe 2.5, just because you get it down, but then translate to the field, you get a bunch of different looks where this might happen, you make an adjustment here, adjustment here. So it definitely takes getting those repetitions against numerous different kind of looks because no defense is the same.
You know, here's what I always wanted to ask this, and I'll ask you because you've been with this Colts team for such a long time. I'm sure that there are many different variations and options play after play. How do you know when it's just up to you to make the play? Or I guess for lack of a better description, Mo, how do you know when you go off the page and just make a play for you and your teammates?
It's really just like a happening because I mean, most times on offense, our coaches do such a good job of preparing us for the possibilities of what we're going to see. So we know some of our pass concepts have man beaters and zone beaters. So we know if we see man, I'm getting this ball, so I need to that's my ability, win this route, things like that. Sometimes it doesn't go according to plan, but we work on scramble drill and off-scripted plays. We work on those also. Sometimes coaches script it into practice. So we have experience doing it already in practice, so it doesn't surprise us when it comes up in the game.
He is Mo Alie-Cox of the Colts. Their tight end. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We know the quarterback situation right now, and Anthony is going to miss what you guys are going to go through for the next 3 days. But I did want to ask you about Daniel Jones. He is new to the program here. What's the ball that he throws look like to you? What's been your impression of Daniel Jones in the early stages of him being Colts quarterback?
I've definitely been very impressed with him. You know, he's picked up the system well. You know, coming from the Giants, I don't think we ran a lot of similar stuff. So terminology and things are different. But out on the field, he has that calm demeanor about himself. He carries himself. He has command of the offense, and he throws a very pretty ball. I mean, it's accurate, and it just hits your hand, and you can catch it in stride and keep going.
Hey, Mo, it's been tough the last month. It really has with the passing of Jim Irsay. What did Jim Irsay mean to you as a player and obviously somebody that you've been a part of this organization for such a long time? What lasting impression did Jim leave upon you?
Definitely going to miss Jim. The last impression Jim left with me is just he was just always there whenever you needed him. Great guy, cared about the team. Team was always first with him. And I tell the story he knew everybody in the building. I mean, it was like my first or second year, and I think it was coming off practice squad. I wasn't playing, and Jim was giving a speech to the team. He was going by position groups, and he goes yeah, Mo and the tight ends. And I'm like, this dude knows my name? Like, what? So Jack and I'm joking a lot. And I'm like, dang, Mo, you're the leader of the group. Jack and them were messing with me. But, yeah, Jim definitely cared about the players, cared about us all deeply, and we're definitely going to miss him.
See, I always thought this mattered, and people have told me this before, because obviously his dad owned the team, but he started at the bottom. You know, he wasn't anointed that position. He started in the locker room picking up stuff and, you know, making sure the team had stuff at a younger age. How much respect does that get? Obviously, with other owners, maybe it's not like that. But Jim, I guess what I'm trying to say, Mo, was a football guy. How much more deeply rooted, meaningful is that for you, knowing that that's how he grew up?
You definitely respect it a lot because, you know, most people don't want to go do all the other things that he involved himself in before he became owner. Like he said, he was working in working in the equipment room and doing all this other stuff, like cleaning up the locker room and things like that, whereas most owners of the team probably have never done that in the past. So with Jim, and then he was also GM at 24, I think they said. So, I mean, he got experienced every aspect in the football building that as an owner, once you have that experience, you can relate to your players a little bit better. And once the players know you've done that as a player, you can't really BS him because he's seen it.
It's Mo Alie-Cox, Colts tied in with us. Full disclosure before I let you go, I reached out to Matt Conti this morning and I said, hey, can you get Mo on with me? Because I saw you at one of the Pacer playoff games. I don't know how many of you attended, but I know with your basketball background, and we got the NBA Finals coming to Indy tomorrow with game number 3. I wanted to get your thoughts, if you don't mind. So how many games have you been to postseason-wise with the Pacers?
Probably like 5 or 6. I've been to a good amount.
Man, you're a basketball dude. What have you taken away from this Pacer team, this run where they are now even with OKC going into game 3 tomorrow night?
You take away from them that the Pacers are never out of a game, because some of the situations we done seen this year is like, how did they end up winning that game? But you take that away from them, but you also get from them that they're a close-knit team. Anybody's liable to go off any game. And yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, and they have the head of the snake in Tyrese, but you also have Siakam and Miles and a bunch of other guys who also are liable to go off any night. So you can never count them out, and you also have to account for all of their players because a lot of them can score the ball. Everybody can shoot the 3 with them.
Full disclosure, as you're watching as a fan, were there moments, at least early on in the postseason, before the heroics we have seen, which has become normalcy, did you think that they were done? And then all of a sudden they pulled that proverbial rabbit out of the hat?
The only game I thought was over was that Milwaukee Bucks game.
Yeah. I think that's where I saw you. Yeah, I think that's where I saw you.
Yeah, then they came back and won that one. After that one, I'll be watching the game at home, and my boys would be like, oh, this game's over. I said, bro, if there's one team that could come back as this team, I've witnessed it with my own eyes. So now I'm a believer.
For a football guy like you, and connection, cohesion of the locker room is so important. How cool is it to see this Pacer team that has everything I'm sure that you would want in a locker room as far as the connection and cohesion, the team-oriented aspect on and off the floor? How cool is that to see, even though you play another sport?
I mean, it's definitely cool to see. And, just being in the city for so long, I've witnessed numerous Pacer teams over the years, but this definitely – last year you could see it coming along, but this year you could definitely see they're closer as a team, more tight-knit. And with all teams, when you have that relationship off the court and when you guys are all close with each other, it always translates to success on the court most times.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question because you were, for lack of a better description, kind of the Secretary of D. Did the crowd used to chant "Mo says no" or something like that back in the day at VCU, right? With you, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, give me a game plan on defending the MVP, Gilgeous Alexander. You got one out there for anybody?
Man, I really have. It's really. I would say the game plan would be let Shea play Shea, and you just got to cut off the rest of the guys because it's too hard to stop him. Or if you double him, they have so many great shooters, so you have to take your chance with him one-on-one and don't let the other guys beat you.
Yeah, and then you look off the bench when you get Caruso and Wiggins going for 38 combined.
Yeah,
that's probably going to get you buried right there. Sure. I completely agree. It's like, it's funny. You look at Brunson in that last series, and maybe you can try to sit on the left hand, but he's probably still going to find a way to do that as well. You just don't want everybody else to beat you, and this is even more magnified now. I mean, he's going to end up getting 34 rolling out of bed probably. So you got to make sure you hold everybody else down as much as possible. That didn't happen in Game 2. Now you going tomorrow night?
Yes, sir.
No, there you go. All right. Well, we're going to be
every day you get to experience the NBA Finals game.
My man, right there with you. Isn't it cool to see? It's cool to see everybody get excited around here too. It's fun as hell.
Yeah. Yep. The city's definitely buzzing. So I know it's going to be electric in there tomorrow.
He is going to be in the house. I knew that you would come through for me. That's why I did reach out to Conti this morning. I said I need Mo on here to talk a little hoop with me, man. Thank you very much for doing so. I know you got 3 important days coming up here, and we'll look for you. I'm at the pub coming up tomorrow right across the street. So if you and your friends want to slide in, we can have another conversation live if you want it tomorrow, too. We'll take advantage of that. But I appreciate you more than you know, man.
Yes, sir. No problem.
It's Mo Alie-Cox right there at the Colts on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Hayden, for putting that together. That went exactly the way that I wanted it to go. when I called Matt Conti this morning and said, yeah, I need a little basketball conversation for the NBA Finals of Game 3. Can you get me Mo Alie-Cox? And there you go. Mo says no was the chant at VCU. See, he'd be good talking on the air right there about that situation, too, just on a daily basis. Got it down. Colts and their mandatory minicamp is officially underway today. That is Mo Alie-Cox on the Andy Moore Automotive Group line. Still to come, more about game number 3 coming up tomorrow with Tyrese Halliburton back at practice earlier today. We'll zone in on that and more. Don't go anywhere. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza? 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I'm fine. Really just a lower leg thing. I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything more to elaborate. I feel fine, and I'll be ready to go for Game 3.
Tyrese Halliburton earlier today. All good for Game 3, 8:30 tip time tomorrow night. 8 o'clock is your coverage with Pacers Radio right here on The Fan. I am going to lead you, even though it sounds like I may be a bit incapable of leading you for 5 hours tomorrow. I'm leading you for 5 hours tomorrow at the pub with Michelob Ultra downtown next to the Field House tomorrow. So everybody's ass has to be there. It's mandatory. Everybody. And I mean you. So we're going to kick back, have some Michelob Ultras, and talk a ton of Game 3 tomorrow. Josh Chalfont's going to be there, too. Is he going to perform live? Yes, sirs?
I believe that's the plan.
That's a big damn deal right there. That's good karma, yes, sirs, before game number 3. With me. Has anybody reached out to him about getting that played in the arena? What are we doing?
Not that I'm aware, but they really should.
Man. What are we doing? Operations people? Fever and the Dream tonight. Dream 5-3, Fever 4-4, 7:30. 7:15, I'm assuming, with Eddie Garrison right here. Still no Caitlin Clark. Maybe, just maybe by the weekend. Fever and Dream later on tonight. 239-1070 is that number. Mo Alie-Cox, shout out, podcast 1075thefan.com. PJ Carlissimo from the ESPN National radio broadcast of the NBA Finals, the former coach. Rakestraw dropped in a little bit earlier, too. And also, in the next 10 minutes before we close, the most interesting thing coming from the Colts gathering earlier today. If you missed that, we've been playing back a couple of different spots for you from the new ownership. Carly Ursay Gordon, for the most part. Casey Foyt, Kalen Jackson is a part of it. The owners of the Colts meeting with the media for the first time. Got something interesting to play for you before we bail. Meantime, 239-1070 is that number, and Joshua is next. Hello, Josh.
Hi, JMV.
Hey, Josh, how are you, buddy?
Good. I exercise every day except Saturdays.
You exercise every day except for Saturday?
Yeah.
So you leave it up to coming on with me and requesting a song every Saturday night. That's your form of exercise, right, Saturday?
Yeah.
You got it, buddy. You going to be dialed in this weekend to the all-80s JMV takeover Saturday night?
Yeah.
I love it. What else you got, my buddy?
Yeah, I'm so happy about the Pacers hosting an NBA playoff in 25 years.
Yeah. You are much like most of the fans around here. It has been a long time coming, Josh. There's no doubt. Anything else?
Nope.
Joshua, good to hear from you. That's Joshua, who is always... Actually, it's a battle between the two, Joshua and Fulton. We'll get to Fulton in a second, who's been on hold for about 500,000 years. A battle between those two to get the first request in every Saturday night. Bill's up next at 239-1070. Hello, Bill.
JMV.
Bill.
Miles Turner. Miles Turner is an elite rim protector, and when I say elite, it's a capital E. I can't think of very many players that are better than him at blocking shots or contesting at the rim than Miles Turner. And I understand the fact that the stat sheet sometimes doesn't say that he gets a lot of rebounds, but there's a lot of team rebounds that happen because of him, whether or not he goes out and kind of pressures, from 10 to 15 feet out, or the fact that he blocks out very well. So I'm very happy with Miles Turner, and he should be a Pacer for life. First of all, I think that the Pacers need to go right at SGA and get him in foul trouble. He's a pretty good defender when he's in the front court, But when you get him toward the basket and everything, he gets a little confused. He can't seem to respond to fakes that close into the basket, and he will foul you. So I think they just need to go right at him. And if they get 2 fouls on him in the first quarter, I think that team crumbles. I really do.
I would agree with this. I definitely think you have to you got to go. You got to make him work. You got to make him work. You mentioned working defensively, but I think you got to try to make him work even more offensively as well. I think both ends is how you attack that. And granted, Billy, we know this. He's probably going to end up getting 30 anyway, right? But if you work him out a little bit in the process, I think you put yourself in a much better position. And then obviously, you just can't surrender 38 off the bench to 2 dudes as they did in game number 2 in OKC on Sunday night. That can't happen. What else you got?
Well, I certainly agree with that. But the lights are a little bit brighter.
Yes.
In Gamebridge Fieldhouse, and these guys, the role players, I'll give them their props. They came through in game 2 and even in game 1. But the light's going to be brighter, and let's see if those young men are going to be able to step up. I don't think they can.
Let me tell you this. Much like Manfred Mann once upon a time says, you cannot be blinded by the lights, can you, Billy?
You just can't do it. If you want to bring home that trophy and everything, the lights have got to be shining on you, and you got to absorb the heat.
Yeah, no doubt. Billy, I'll see you tomorrow and on Friday, hopefully, downtown, right?
Might as well make it 2.
That is well done right there. Thank you, Billy. Might as well go 2. Wednesday, Friday. Is this the Porsche Doc Terry right here? Hello,
hey, John,
Porsche Doc Terry. How are you?
I'm great, John. How are you? I wanted to jump on here and bang that drum for Miles. Through the season, I didn't have that much time to watch him. I follow them very closely, print and all.
Yeah.
So I know what they were doing and all that. But to sit down and watch every moment of every game, I haven't. And I wanted to say that what I've noticed is it's amazing how afraid most of the other team is to enter into the paint when Miles is there. It's like there's this wall up that they just can't penetrate, and so they don't try. And I just find it amazing.
So, Porsche Doc Terry, it's noticeable to you that if he's not out there, normally it's a layup line. Correct.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, refresh my memory on the Porsche Doc Terry stuff here.
We were talking about your 914. I've been working on Porsches for 52 years now. And, I was surprised that you had owned a 914.
Yes. I wish I still did, too. My life would have been much different had I not wrecked the hell out of that thing.
Yeah, you would probably be sitting under a palm tree.
Yes.
Sucking on a drink and getting taken care of.
Hey, I want to ask you this. So do most Porsches, or did they or do they come with a factory Blaupunk stereo?
I would say that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the majority came with a Blaupunk.
I got you. Because I've always wanted a Blaupunk. And unfortunately, I had what was called in 1985-86 a Sparkomatic, and that is not a Blaupunk.
J.C. Whitney, I think, sold those.
Yeah, I had the Sparkomatic. Here's how you could tell. Back in our era, the 80s, Porsche Doc Terry, you could tell by the eject button. If you ejected the cassette and it eased it out automatically, that was a hell of a stereo. The Sparkomatic catapulted it to, if I had a back seat, had that not have been a 2-seater, that thing would have landed in the back seat. You could tell.
Yeah.
If it was going to get distance out of the eject button on your cassette tape, you knew you had a cheap-ass radio.
Right, but comes with that a game. There's a game with everything and everywhere. There's a game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So
pop and catch.
Hey, I admire that. I need a good Blaupunk. I need it with one of those. What is those? The gooseneck where you can the face of it. You can go from the passenger side to the driver's side. Do they still have those?
The stalk? No, that's a thing of the past.
Ah, okay.
As well as the super high quality of the Blaupunk is a thing of the past.
Let me tell you this, too, Porsche Doc Terry. In closing, had I not wrecked the 914, I was going to be Junior Thomas Magnum of Magnum PI. because that's who I thought I was. When I drove around without a license, which I did a lot prior to getting my license, that's who I fashioned myself off of. I found the tightest, shortest shorts out there and rolled around like I was Magnum PI around Greene County. Yes. I did.
I heard that you were pretty impressive in that way.
Yes. Portia Doc Terry, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
You bet, man.
Hey, we'll close with our good friend Fulton coming up next here at the tail end of this show. Don't go anywhere. On the road tomorrow, Friday. I'll explain next.
with JMV.
Excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Well, we drafted Anthony for a reason. And, we believe in him. He's incredibly talented. And sometimes when you draft players, they have rough starts. They have injuries. They've got those things that they need to go through. But I think it's way too early to tell. And I know Chris and Shane, they'll let us know as we go along. But I think he has all the potential in the world. And if he wants to prove it, he can, and he will if he wants to.
Wish TV Channel 8, courtesy right there with the audio of Carly Ursay-Gordon, owner of the Colts. She and her two sisters, Casey Floyd and Kaylin Jackson, met with the media for the first time a little bit earlier as they take over for their late father, Jim Irsay. And their first press conference earlier today out on West 56. My thanks to Mo Alie-Cox, Colts tight end. Really good stuff here earlier in the 5 o'clock hour. PJ Carlissimo, fantastic as well. ESPN Radio's got your coverage of game number 3. That is coming up, of course, tomorrow evening. And Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Tomorrow, the pub. I'm going to be downtown right next to the field house. You can join us 3 until 8 tomorrow. You heard that right. 3 until 8. Josh Chalfant is going to perform Yes Sirs live for us. Do we know, James, the target time for Josh to stop by and do that?
The target time is 6:30 right now.
6:30, according to James. Coming up tomorrow. 6:30, according to James. And a whole lot more from the pub with Michelob Ultra tomorrow. 239-1070 is that number. I mentioned Fulton, and here he is. Hello, Fulton.
Hello, John. How are you feeling?
I could have felt better, Fulton, to be honest with you, but we are getting through it.
Yeah, I have to tell you about my Special Olympics games over the summer.
Yeah, you had a big weekend, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So I got the second place silver medal for the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
And then the third place bronze medal for the 200, which actually I slid onto. I was getting ready to put my position for the 100-meter dash, and then I slid, and it was a wet track, and I could have fell and got last place, but I didn't.
I got you. Well, it's good to hear. I'm glad you had a good weekend, buddy.
I sure did, and it was a wonderful day. We had a lot of things to do, and we had to dance and had the Olympic ceremony, and it was a lot of time, and I was on Terre Haute News.
Well, there you go. To the Terre Haute News. Fulton, I appreciate that. Congratulations on a great weekend.
John, if you see Josh, tell him to give me a call.
I will.
I would love to have him on my show.
You got that right. I got it. I'll do it, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
That is Fulton right there. Yeah, Josh Chalfant, 6:30 for Yes Sirs coming up tomorrow. You know, something else I didn't mention today because it was actually reported yesterday, and Shane Steichen solidified it today during his meeting with the media. Anthony Richardson did fly to L.A. to have his AC joint rechecked by the doctor who originally performed that surgery. There is an aggravation going on that is not good. And we'll continue to follow that story. There was no change as far as the timeline upon return. The expectation is he is back for training camp, but is going to be, at least right now, all Daniel Jones all the time. Desmond Ridder was a part of it today, too, the free agent quarterback over there. So, and no doubt, Daniel Jones, I would suggest Daniel Jones or bust coming up in week number 1 as well, which is not going to surprise very many. This is like, again, you hear all this news, as I said earlier, and there's nothing really going to shock you anymore, is there? Nothing at all. All right, even at a game apiece in the best of 7. Game number 3 coming up tomorrow night. I have tagged both games 3 and game 4 as must-wins. Here's the great part about it. I don't know if I'm going tomorrow night just yet, but I'll be at the pub coming up tomorrow with Michelob Ultra beginning at 3. We'll go from 3 until 8. So make your pregame party before game 3 with me at the pub. And Josh Chalfant is going to perform Yes Sir's live for us coming up at 6:30 tomorrow. I have a huge guest list for you. A lot of people that are going are going to stop by. Cannot wait to see you there. Now, Friday, we're at Pivot inside the Hyatt House, second level, the balcony overlooking Pennsylvania, right across from the field house. We'll be there until 6 o'clock, and Tom Sutton and I are attending Game 4 on Friday together. So that's good. And hopefully it's not going to be to restore order. Continue order is what you're looking for coming up on Friday. Mo Alie-Cox, PJ Carlissimo, Greg Rakestraw, podcast 1075thefan.com. Do not miss any of those conversations. They were all really good. So were you guys. Thank you for the calls. Thank you for the emails, the input in social media. Always appreciate that, James. Great job out of you. I'll see you tomorrow. All of you tomorrow. 5 hours at the pub with Michelob Ultra to get you set for Game 3 of the NBA Finals with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.